Okay, here we are in ninth literature, and we're getting ready to write journal number 10. Yesterday, we wrote journal number 9, which was about an enemy. And you have a,
Yeah, last week you said that a couple days ago you said that we could read our enemy things today.
yeah, I mean, you don't even have to read it. You can just kind of share. I would be interested to know about that.
My book is in my laundry. This is a piece of paper.
Yeah. So before we write the next one, which I'll explain to you, anybody have, I've never asked people to write about the enemy before, and I was thinking, that's probably something a lot of us wouldn't want to be personal about. But I think the interesting thing is all of us have or will have enemies, if not a person, then a condition or a situation that was like an enemy that opposed you, and how did you handle it? So did you want to share something?
Can we just tell who it is, or do we tell?
Well, I mean, if it's, I don't want to know if it's somebody we all know, like it's some big joke, but you could describe what it was and what happened. You don't even have to read it, you can just tell us.
Yeah, basically, it was like, it was in the past, but it was my older brother, because he would always bully and push me around and get me in trouble. And I'd say at one point, even though he was my brother, I'd say at one point I really hated him. But we're all good now. But I used to I guess counter is what you said, like how to get past them.
Well, yeah, how did you handle it?
Basically I made myself cry and got in trouble.
All right. So he never gave you any trouble anymore?
No, not really anymore. Well, I don't see him a lot, so he didn't come.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. What do you do with an enemy? If you've never had one, you probably don't know how to handle it. What were you going to do? Would you like to share something?
Sure. One time I met someone who really just disgusted me, and they were loud, they were know it all, and they were just rude. I treated them like they were like a parasite on a shoe. I ignored them and publicly embarrassed them when I could. Not directly, but with class.
Well, I'm curious how you do that with class.
You don't directly like insult them or like say things to their face, but when you're with a group of people, then you like slide something under the door and everyone's like, oh my goodness. And like,
You mean gossip?
no, not gossip, but you say they're right there, and you're saying it right there in front of them.
Oh, you say something about them?
Yeah, you're saying, oh, remember that time you were a jerk or something like that, and then everybody's like, oh, okay.
All right. That's a new one on me. Yeah.
So
Sure.
like, I guess the closest thing to an enemy was like a girl who went to Westchester. She was like on the
Say that again.
I guess there was another girl on a Westchester basketball team, and I like really hated her.
Were
And,
you
like,
playing here?
Yeah.
Okay, you were playing
Like,
against.
I just was really like she was just so mad, and I would always like play her. She wasn't really good, but like I like pushed her a lot.
All right. Did you get caught? During the game we're talking about.
So I mean like I would like beat her a lot, and like she would fall a lot. Like I would push her.
Break her ankle.
Isn't that part of the game, sort of?
Yeah, I would target her.
All right. I wouldn't have thought it of you, Sarah. You're so kind and gentle and sweet. I'll keep my eye on you now. Yeah.
Well, there was this girl a while ago that I met a few years ago, and she would just talk about me and my friends like 2 weeks over. She'd say mean things about us.
Gossip?
Yeah. So we talked to a teacher about it, and then she stopped hanging out with us. So that was good.
All right. Different ways to handle it. A couple of you that have in common is you took it on yourself, Sarah, to do it, but you go to some other source to get help. Any other thoughts? I was trying to think. I know, I think I could share. I felt like at a certain point in my life, I was being bullied more verbally and trying to be embarrassed and bullied. And did I fight? I didn't actually physically fight. I did confront one guy one time, and that seemed to help for a while. But the main thing I did was I played sports with these people. And we played physical sport, like we played football. I played football, I mean, from 4th grade to 12th grade, and with the same people. And when it got serious, like in middle school, is when I felt like on the sports, on a football field, I was able to I never really had to confront them on a football field. You know, they're on my team, so we would scrimmage. I don't even remember like tackling them really hard or anything, but I think there was an element of respect there that was earned as we all kind of went through it together. They grew up, I grew up, and so that was kind of left behind. It was one of those things. No one thing changed it. It was a period of time, and I think respect was developed, and people did grow up. You know, some of the same people you didn't like, you know, maybe 5 years later they could be your best friend. That's funny how that happens. But I'm always interested in how people handle confrontation. I thought you were going to say what did Paul say, Romans, that it's also in Proverbs, you put burning coals on their head. In other words, you're so nice to them that they feel guilty. You know, that doesn't work with some people, especially if it's a bully. You know, bullies, he's just going to maybe take advantage of that. But it is biblical. And it's not like it's a panacea for bullies. You know, be nice to them and they'll just stop hurting you. But it is a general concept that we treat our enemies nicely. There are a lot of ways that's interpreted. But anyway, any other thoughts about how to treat enemies? Well, here today, I'm going to give you 10 minutes. I'm going to ask you, we're jumping the gun here, no pun intended, since this is about war. Get it? Jump the gun. We're not going to really talk about veterans until November the 11th. And every year I ask to write about this. So I felt like we needed to go ahead and do it several weeks in advance. I want you to write about a veteran that you know. Maybe it's someone in your family. Maybe it's just the concept of veterans. Maybe you don't even know a veteran. We had Ryan. She has a 2-star general in her background. She has an uncle or something who was a 2-star general. Tim was sharing that he had a relative who actually saved other people's lives, gave up his life, and he won a big medal for that. I shared that my father-in-law's father, my wife's grandfather, was a World War I veteran, went to France, became a Christian while he was in France, won the Silver Star, which is the 3rd highest combat medal that we have. He actually saved a man's life, and he took messages behind enemy lines, and he won the Silver Star. Was wounded, so he won a Purple Heart. Played in the regimental band in front of kings. They still had kings in Europe at the time of World War I, and he actually performed with the other part of the band in front of some of these European kings. So it was just quite a colorful history. If you knew that much about your person, that would be the great thing to do. Or if you don't know anybody, or you know them kinda, you could talk to about more than one. The idea is to write for 10 minutes. Try to get 3/4 of the page. Write 1 veteran or 2 veterans or combinations thereof. Just be able to write for 10 minutes. You got it? Let's begin. anybody wanna share, about a veteran? We'll start with Carter.
So my grandpa was a veteran and he was in the Air Force and he came from a very poor family, so like in his 20s and he went into the Air Force and he like worked on planes and stuff. And I don't really know which war he served in, but his brother-in-law also was a veteran and I think he served in the Korean War.
How old is he now?
He's like in his early 80s.
Okay, yeah, most World War II veterans are like 10 years older, maybe in their 90s. All right,
And
keep going.
and after my papa served, he became a pastor, and he's been a pastor for 65 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm very grateful for his service.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Charlotte? Oh, yeah. Leroy.
My grandfather, who is currently 82, was in the Special Forces for the U.S. during the Vietnam War.
Wow.
Since he was South Vietnamese, they knew he would get killed if he stayed, so he immigrated to the U.S.
Wow. That's impressive. Yes. Sean.
My great grandfather was, he's 85 and he was in the Air Force. He was like an air traffic control person. Like he towed like planes with the
Right.
and stuff.
That's really important. Ben.
Actually, I have two. You want me to tell one or no?
You can share both of them.
Oh, well, the first one is my grandfather. He was in the Air Force, not for very long. And, I didn't know much about him, but I knew he was, like, really crazy. But he died, like, 7 years ago, so I didn't really know him that much. But I know I think he went into combat, like, one time. I don't remember what it was, but and then my great uncle was in World War One, and he was a spy, and he was captured, and he was like a prisoner of war, and then he went missing, so people started getting worried about him, and he wrote back to his mom, which is like my great grandma, I'm pretty sure. And he said he was like, hey and stuff, and he asked like a box of chocolate bars and like a pack of cigarettes. And we still have the note.
Did he survive the war? Did he come home?
Yeah, they let him go.
Neat. Yeah, Ellen. Thank you. Ellen.
Neither of my grandparents served in the.
Well, one more time. I just can't hear you.
Neither of my grandparents were drafted to the Afghanistan war, because one of them had a blood disorder and the other one tore his like knee muscle. But I think veterans are some of the most heroic people in our country. And it's really like patriotic that they go and fight. But I think it's more important that they came home and they're like living life right now, because I think it's a really hard thing to do coming back from the war.
Yeah, last period we talked about PTSD and how you see the pictures of the guys with the prosthetic legs, arms, maybe even face. You know, his mouth is deformed because of fire and explosion. Can you imagine the accompanying PTSD? I mean, you live with it every day, but because you can't get away from it, you remember that moment. I imagine every time you look at yourself in the mirror, or look at your missing leg, you remember when it happened, which is, you know, there are people without a scratch on them who saw things and went through things, and they have no physical problems to deal with, and yet they're messed because of what they saw. So I can't imagine, not having done it. I mean, I can imagine up to a point how you can never forget. You know, we talk about trauma, you know, the things that you experience. That's no greater trauma. Did you have something there?
Oh yeah, well, my grandpa was in the Navy. He was like a lieutenant or something. I don't really know much about him because he passed away a while ago, but I know that he mostly just like transported cargo and didn't really fight that much.
Well, you know, I've heard some number for every guy in combat. You know, there are at least 6 people, and maybe more than that. I may be way off, but that many people it takes to make sure that guy's ready for combat. You know, the people that make the stuff and do somebody was an air traffic controller. Was that you? Yeah. You know, that kind of stuff has to be done. They're not in combat, but you don't have You don't have combat unless you have those guys, yeah.
I've got, but my cousin was in the Navy a few years ago, and he like opted out of it after like a few years. So
Yeah.
I guess technically he's a veteran.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, now they're combat veterans, but it's still a veteran. Veterans Day, whether you served in combat or not, you're honorably discharged. You're a veteran. Thank you for sharing that. I may ask you, because I forget maybe all the details when we get closer to November the 11th, but that's really important. I know you're proud of them, and I know we all are. Anyone else want to share? All right, so if you would turn in your book, we have about 15, 20 minutes to read a little bit, and we are on page 62.
I like that song.
But I don't. At the moment.
62, number 21. They've just made a decision about sending Ganelon to Marsilian to deliver the message. And what seems to be Charlemagne's worry as he considers who to send?
You think it might be a trap, so like somebody could possibly send like this.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the guy who ends up going, you must think, why me? You know, you didn't think I was that important. Of course, yesterday we wrote about enemies, and we shared about that. But here we have this feud now between Roland and Ganelon. Ganelon has promised to, I think he already has, yeah, he's already promised to get revenge against Roland, his, what do you call it, his stepson, yeah. He's already promised that, in front of people. So don't ever do that. Don't ever say, I'm getting back at you. You know, you just wait. You have all these people, if something ever happens to him, I heard so-and-so, I heard him say they were gonna get it, must have been him. That's not very smart, but anyway, he does that.
Hey,
Yes,
why-
please.
I think I left my book at my house. Is there an extra copy?
Yeah, just don't write in it. There's one over there, Sarah.
Oh, wait, why does he hate Roland now?
Because Roland nominated Ganelon to take the message, and we've discovered that that's a dangerous job. Bastille and Bassin got their heads cut off. Now, Charlemagne says he trusts Marsilian, but when he has to send the 12 peers, he refuses, because he doesn't want any of them in case it doesn't turn out well. He doesn't say that about Ganelon, so Ganelon hates them all at this point. All right, so that's where we are. And so number 21, it's short. I'll read it. Quoth Ganelon. Oh, Roland offered to take his place. And Ganelon says, my place thou shalt not take. Thou not my vassal, nor I thy suzerain. Charles, for his service, commands me to obey. I'll seek Marsile in Saragossa's gates. But rather there some deadly trick I'll play than not find vent for my unbounded rage. When Roland heard him, he laughed in his face. Now, I don't know who overheard that, but he basically says, again, I'm going to get back at you, and I'm going to trick you. I'm going to come up with some trick that will destroy you. And Roland, can you imagine you've just insulted somebody, and their response to the insult is, they laugh in your face. Just that expression, laugh in your face, that's insulting. So Roland doesn't handle his enemy very well. Yeah, why don't we, Lilani, we might go this way, like this way up and down. Number 22.
When Ganelon sees Roland laugh outright, he spit to burst from anger in his sight, and very nearly burst clean out of his mind. He tells the count, I love you not, nor I. You kicked on me unfairly out of spite. Just Emperor, here I stand before your eyes, ready to do whatever you think right.
So it's for the third time, he says something, I love you not, which is the same thing as saying, I hate you, right? Pretty much. Carter.
To Saragossa I see that I must should flee. There is no return for him that journeys thither. Bethink you well that my wife is your sister, a son she bare me, fairest of goodly children. Baldwin quoth he, and a champion he will be. To him I leave all my lands and my living. No more I'll see him take care, sir, of your kinsmen. Quoth Charles, your heart is too tender within you, go now, you must, for even so I do.
So he fully expects to die. That's why he's so angry at Roland for nominating him. Sarah.
Then said the king, wait,
That's right.
stand forward, Gallon. Here at my hand receive the glove and wine. You have heard the French, you are the man they want. Messire, said Gwynus, Roland hath done nothing wrong. I'll never love him the whole of my life long, nor Oliver his friend and fellow fond, nor the 12 years by whom he doted on. Sire, in your presence I defy the whole lot. Then said the king, your passion is too hot. I bid you go, and so you must be gone. Well, I may go, but safeguard have I not. Vassal had none, nor basin none. God wot.
And he said, Roland hath done this wrong. I'll never love him the whole life. So it's the fourth time he says something bad about Roland. He makes it clear how he feels about it. Sean.
The king holds out to him his right hand glove. Fain would Count Givens be 100 miles off. When he would take it, it fell into the dust. God, what is this? Cried all the French at once. For sure this message will bring us great ill luck. My lords, quoth Guinness, you'll know it soon enough.
And just remember, Guinness is Ganelon. And something really bad happened. What happened? Is he was handed the glove, which is the authority that he'll take with him to make this deal with Marsilian. What happens?
Fell into the dust.
Yeah, like that's the worst thing that could ever happen. He dropped it. And so they kind of gasp and draw back and say, this message will bring us great ill luck. Taylor.
Sire, give me leave, quoth Guinness, hence to hie. Since going must, it boots not to abide. Go to the king by Jesus' leave and mine. With his right hand he exalts him and sign, and to his care letter and one consign.
All right, so now we're going to see Ganelon go to Marsilian at Saragossa. Ben.
Get us to count to his lodging, make speed. With his array he setteth him to seat. The best he has to serve him for this need. His golden spurs he buckles on his heels, girds to his side, merely is his brand of steel, and mounts him up on Kashabrun his steed. His stirrup held by Ginimir, his Eam.
Yeah, Imi or Im. It's a word for uncle.
For his held by near his Imi. Then might you see full many a brave knight weep, saying to him, woe worth your valor's need. In the king's court these many years you have been a noble vassal, by all were you esteemed. He that named you for this year by his reed, Charlemagne's self shall not save him nor shield. No right had Roland to contrive this scheme, for you're a young man sprung of a noble breed. Then they said, Sir, take us with you, we plead. Guinness replied, God forbid it should be. Best die alone, nor slay good knights with me. Sirs, you'll return to fair France presently. On my behalf, my wife I bid you greet. And Penabel son, whom you know well, I lead. Him shall you help and accept for your lead. Then he sets forth on his way, on he goes he.
Now, we know Galilon is the villain of the story, and yet there are times when he appears, well, the author paints him in a good picture, good way. So what does he do here that's rather noble? Yeah.
He tells the other people that want to come with him, he tells them to save their lives.
Yes, so he does a noble thing. No, I don't want you to die needlessly. I'll go and die alone. So that's actually a good thing. And there are several times when we see him not being like totally evil, as you would guess it'd be. Leroy, 28.
Under tall olives, the country king survives. The Phantom envoys, he's caught up in good time. And Blankendrin drops back with him behind. Now each paladin begins to speak with guile. Blankendrin says Charles is a wondrous wight. Julia, he's Tair. Calabria, likewise, and unto England passed over the salt tide. To win St. Peter's a tribute of the isle. What you see here, pouring in our confines. Such is his pleasure, Count Ganelon replies, in all the world you will not find his like.
So they're actually saying nice things, both Blankendrin and Ganelon, about Charlemagne. And Blankendrin just wonders, why is he here? Why did he come down here? He doesn't know. All right, Lily. 29, sorry.
Quoth Blankendrin, the French are men of worth, yet to their war they do a scurvy turn. These dukes and counts that make them so consul with such work, both him and others, they harry to their hurt. There is none, quoth Gwynis, who merits such ill warrants. Say only Roland, for whom 'twill be the worst. But now the empire, even the cool shade converse. Up came his nephew, all in his fiery grit, fresh with the booty from the Carcassonne return. Roland in hand a golden apple nursed, and showing his uncle, saying, Take it, good sir, the crowns I give you, all the kings on earth. One day his cry will undo him for sure. Danger of death, day by day, he fears. One should slay him, some peace might be preserved.
All right, so Ganelon is trying to get what's his goal here? What's Ganelon want to do? Well, but what does he want to do when he gets there? He's taking the message from Charlemagne, but what is his personal goal?
To come back.
Well, yes, but to do what?
Team up? To side with him, with Marceline?
To do what?
To defeat the king?
It's not. Remember, he likes the king. Who does he not like? Roland. So his job is to destroy Roland. That's his goal. And Roland had nothing to do with this. It had something to do with him going there, but it's all personal. Shows you again about revenge being personal. Although he went to send the message, he's already getting Blankendrin on his side. If we could kill Roland, man, this thing could be over. And so he's trying to get him to agree with that. Luke.
Quoth Blankendrin, Roland's a villain fell, presuming thus all folks on earth did dwell, and every land under his yoke fell. Whom does he count on to lend his arms such strength? Galen answers the counts of the French. They'll never fail him, they love him far too well. Silver and gold he gives them for largesse.
Largesse.
Horses and mules, silks and accoutrements, and everything the emperor wants he gets. He'll win for him in lands twixt east and west.
So he's trying to point out how important Roland is to Charlemagne. He's the reason Charlemagne's so successful. And again, if you could get rid of him, then Charlemagne would be easy to defeat. That's his argument. Sorry.
So long rides in, how do you say his name?
Guinness.
Guinness, with Blankendrin that day. So each has pledged his truth and faith. They will seek means Count Roland So long they ride, they come by road and way, to Saragossa and by you draw rein. A bald stool stood beneath the palm tree's shade, with silken cloth of Alexandria draped. There sat the king that bore the rule in Spain. Full 20,000 Saracens stood arrayed. Not one of them has any word to say, so eagerly upon the news they wait. And here comes Guinness and
All right, so they're there now, and they're in Saragossa, and we see Marsilian waiting for them. So we'll go to 8.
Blancandrin came before Marsilian, and by the hand held county against England. Say to the king, save you, sir, by Mahan, and by Apollyon, whose blessed faith we extol. To Charles we gave your message every jot. Both of his hands he lifted up aloft, and praised his God. Further he answered not. One of his nobles, you see, he sent along a lord of France, of most illustrious stock. From him you'll hear if peace is won or lost. We'll hear him, quoth Marcel. Let him stay on.
So now Ganelon's going to have a chance to deliver the message. So we'll go to Charlotte.
Now Ganelon had given his mighty thought, and with great cunning, he now begins to talk, even as a man that's to the manner born. He tells the king, God, have you in his word, the glorious God whom we ought to adore. King Charlemagne the Great that sends you word. You must receive the faith of Christ the Lord, and as your chief of Spain, he will award. If you refuse to accept this accord, you shall be taken and fired by main force, and haled away to
Eggs.
into his court, there to be doomed and done with once for all. There shall you die in shamefulness and scorn. Both hearing this, Marcel was quite distraught. He held a door with golden feathers wrought. And will have struck him, but he was over.
So what does Ganelon stress about the message? You notice which part he stresses? Remember, the deal was, would you accept these gifts and leave? And yet what Charlemagne has, or at least what Ganelon is saying, what Charlemagne wants is for you to accept, become a Christian, and he'll give you half Spain. You can keep half of Spain. He's going to take the other half. Find out later and give it to Roland. But if you don't accept this deal, if you don't become a Christian, pretty much come with us instead of waiting, because remember, Marsilian wants to wait and never show up. He wants to just get Charlemagne out, then he'll say, he's not going to show up, their sons will be killed, but that's okay with him. So he says here that you have to come or he'll kill you. He'll drag you to France and kill you. Marsilian is so angry, he takes his spear and he's getting ready to throw it at Ganelon, even though it's not Ganelon's fault. Although he is kind of emphasizing the wrong thing there. But Livy, would you read one more?
I lost my page.
We are on page 68, bottom of the page. Number 34.
Okay. The king Marcel and all has all changed. Grasping the shaft of javelin he shakes. When Guinness sees it, he sets his hand up to his blade. 2 fingers breadth forth of the scabbard hilt, and says to it, "Hold right you are brave. In the king's court I've borne you many a day. Near till the emperor of France had caused to say, I died alone in a strange land far away. Before the gravest place of you have paid. The Paynims cry, we must prevent his way."
All right, so Marsilian is angry. He's got the spear. Ganelon puts his hand on his sword like he's going to fight back, and some of the cooler heads will prevail here. Some of these Spaniards, he says, we got this, can't happen. We can't let this happen. So let me just finish. The wiser Paynims remonstrate with him, so that King Marsil has sunk back on his throne. Quoth the Caliph, he's one of the guys who's trying to calm things down. You put us to reproach thinking to threaten his Frenchman with a blow. It is your business to listen and take note. Saith Ganelon, all this, sir, must thou thole, for all the gold God made I'll not forgo, nor not for all the wealth your land can boast to speak the message. But I'm but given scope, which Charles the King, that mighty man of Mole, has sent me to this his mortal foe. He had on him a sable fur-lined cloak, covered with silk with Alexandra wove. He flings it down for Blankingem to hold, but of his sword nowhere wise will let go. In his right hand he gasped the hilt of the sword, the pain him say, "Lo, there's a barren bow." So Ganelon takes his cloak off, he's got his hand on his sword, and everybody who's looking at him says, "Man, that's a brave guy." They're very impressed with it. So here again we have the narrator showing us that Ganelon, he's not all bad. There's some virtue in him, there's courage, there's cunning, but he is still the villain. So we'll start this. Don't forget the test. And I am going to see if I can run Mr.